What is the weirdest conspiracy theory you ever heard of? I was watching the History Channel last year and there was this show on talking about how Hitler invented a bell that allowed him to travel in time. He went back and helped the Egyptians build the pyramids as a method to communicate with aliens to help him win World War II. When Eisenhower found out, he intercepted the aliens and made a deal with them to give the US advanced technology in exchange for allowing the aliens to abduct a certain amount of people per year. In later years, the aliens were abducting too many people and heavily strained relationships between the US and the aliens. History Channel after 1 AM is wild. My last shred of credibility on History Channel was broken after I heard that the Bigfoot is a criminal alien that was exiled to Earth, only for the USSR to clone him, and now there are 2,000 of them on Earth. That Idaho, the state I live in, is actually a supermassive factory for alien technology and potatoes for Area 51, from a guy who also lives in Idaho. That so many people went back in time to stop the Titanic from sinking, that it sank because there was too many people on board. Trump has a time machine conspiracy theory. Originally found it on 4chan, but since I've heard it from both supporters and detractors of him, some explanations are really elaborate, but it basically boils down to the fact that John Trump, Donald's uncle, worked at MIT and was charged by the government with analyzing Tesla's notes and laboratory. This part is true. The conspiracy theory is that he found some sort of time machine there and the Trump family has been using it to make themselves successful. That's why everything slides off limb, and this is the weirdest timeline. He just keeps going back and changing things. This is from my brother. He thinks that seatbelts can be controlled and that cars are taken over and caused to reek and catch fire with the seatbelt locked so the person will burn to death. He only drives pre-1980 vehicles and takes the locking mechanism out of the seatbelt connector. Tells me I have a death wish every time I buy a new vehicle. As far as I know, he does not know anyone that has ever burned to death in a car, so I don't know where he got this stuff. He is 65 and has talked about this since seatbelts became mandatory. Seems like an awful lot of work for something a simple pocket knife would render immediately useless. Asian countries send their worst drivers to America to interfere with commutes, hindering the country's economic growth. I've been to Beijing. Asian countries are actually sending their best drivers. The cheaper tomatoes entering Turkey are tampered with dangerous hormones by the Zionist lobby in Israel to turn our population Jewish. The guy who said it isn't the brightest, but seriously. Zionist tomatoes? Tackle the Jewish tomatoes. In LA there's a conspiracy radio station that is hilarious to listen to. Me and some friends were high at night in the mountains tuning in for some laughs. This guy, who was supposedly something of a celebrity to these conspiracy types, no it wasn't Alex Jones, was the honored guest, showcasing his unclassified information. Did you guys know aliens are getting in contact with dolphins first because humans are too stupid? They are giving them ray guns and training them to walk on their tail fins out of the water and storm the landlubbers. I am not making this up. I'm from Colorado and there's a conspiracy that there's a secret facility under the Denver airport. I've heard it's an alien research facility, a city for the lizard people, or a bomb shelter for the world's elite. That's definitely up there on the weird list for me. There are a ton of conspiracy theories about the Denver airport. That only the earth is flat as said by the flat earthers because they have seen that the other planets are round. What the frick? Can you believe people actually think oceans are real? Like, come on. A massive pool of water just lying there and other countries are on the other side? PFFT. Where would anyone get that much water from? Do you know how long it takes to fill even a regular sized pool? Ex-head of treasury at the company I work for believes that the politicians are openly promoting gay marriage as a form of population control. LOL. I once saw someone say that being gay could be caused by heavy population density, and that some people's brain basically flip a subconscious switch when they realize population control is needed. I used to have a friend on FB who was as dumb as a sack of hair. He would post the most ridiculous stories that the average monkey could have seen was fake. He was very anti-GMO, so he found some article about the horrible side effects of GMO on cows. It had pictures of Belgian blue cows, but he was convinced that there were some new freak monster engineered cows. But the weirdest was some article he found about how the US and Russian were in cahoots to keep the secret of an interdimensional portal that was discovered on the moon by, wait for it, Hitler. This article had a pic of it and everything. I crap you not. It was a picture of the goddamn portal from the Stargate movies. And he thought this crap was real. Norway doesn't exist. It's just ocean. And Nords are actually just Swedes. The ocean there is the most fertile ocean grounds. And Russia and China guard the secret of their favorite fishing hole. Birds aren't real. They're just government surveillance devices. Actually, Sweden doesn't exist anymore. Since Kamprad's death it has been replaced by a larger than average IKEA and all former Swedish citizens are now considered employees. It's been a while since I was last there, but in the mid-2010s, people in Northern California would talk about how there are chemtrails coming from passenger planes that release chemicals that kill crops and poison the water. Who does this? Well, Bill Gates and the US Army in conjunction with the airlines and Monsanto, of course. Why? Something about not letting people grow their own food so they have to buy GMOs. It's pretty far out there. Still not sure how Bill Gates fits in, but that's what I was told. Chemtrails is a pretty classic conspiracy theory. Weird but actually funny that Russia and China started the anti-vax movement to trick gullible Americans to stop vaccination so that they can use biological weapons to wipe out the greater American population without affecting the rest of the Western world, since the agent they used would be ineffective had their standard vaccine schedule been followed. I really love that in a weird way. Of course they didn't start it, they just quietly encourage it through targeted troll campaigns to weaken their geopolitical rival. I've heard people say that gravity doesn't exist and we are drawn to the ground because the iron in our blood is attracted to the earth like a magnet. What about furniture? Obama is the Antichrist. Basically, some people claimed that John something something says the Antichrist will be a Muslim, easily debunked by the fact that Islam was founded like 500 years after the Book of John was written. Also, some Democrats believed this, so they would have intentionally brought about the end of the world. Every president has the Antichrist rumors going for them. They will add up the letters in the name, or convert them to numbers or whatever and find a way to make it equal 666. If you dig deep enough into anything you can find some crazy pattern. It's like the woman who thinks Monster energy drinks are the mark of the beast. That FB provokes drama between the users to keep them hooked, like a real life Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like showing people comments on posts so the person who thinks the opposite get trigger. We already know this. Both positive and negative feedback is shown as engagement, and more engaging things get shared more. Same with YouTube. Hardly a conspiracy, just good engagement and customer retention. Now, if you said they were doing that to increase the amount of conflict in the world for some nefarious reason, then that's a conspiracy. I knew someone who believed that space didn't exist, even though you could clearly see the stars and moon every night. He believed that the sky was just a dome made by the government to simulate the sky. I don't know the specifics, but my guess is he thought the entire planet was flat, with a dome sky, and nothing beyond that. Like, that was the universe. The sun was just a light and planets and stars don't exist. Just a fancy planet-sized dome with lights. I'm starting my own conspiracy theory. Lithium-ion batteries set on fire and explode when exposed to air. Not by accident, but to destroy evidence that they're actually alien tech reversed engineered. I mean, we've had batteries for decades, and they've always been the same size and shape and held about the same charge relatively. But all of a sudden these things are tiny and outperform regular batteries by leaps and bounds. I'm aware it's stupid, so don't bother debunking it. I just enjoy the fantasy more than the boring reality. That big oil suppressed battery tech because of a fear of electric cars. S. Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter. That the Holocaust didn't actually happen. This one hurt me because of how serious the non-believers were. I've witnessed so much trauma in the people I've worked with connected to the tragedy, and some idiots on a computer want to claim it's false. JFK Jr. isn't dead. They faked his death to protect him from Hillary Clinton. He was thinking about running for a political office she wanted, so she was going to have him killed. This is all set to be revealed publicly on the 4th of July. At least that's what my mother-in-law was saying back in June. That Michelle Obama is a man, and the family doctor is the real mother. It's weird because it's obvious that it began as just another way to hate the Obamas, but people actually believe it because of course they do. The Haas movement was set up by a cartel of the big fast food corporations in order to combat dropping sales of fast food. This one actually doesn't sound so crazy. Eminem is dead and was replaced with someone else. Also that Paul McCartney died back in the 60s and was replaced by the winner of a impersonating contest, and that person got facial surgeries. That's why he wanted to see the real Slim Shady stand up. All of the remaining Nazis from World War II are now stationed on the B-Moon. That's why we don't send space missions there anymore. Iron Sky is such a fun movie. There was the crazy guy I met in college who was convinced that the world was secretly run by garden gnomes. You could mention a historic event and he would tell you which garden gnome was there when it happened. My neighbor insists Japan is a conspiracy made up by China and the US to control fishing rights in that area. Apparently during the 4 years I was living in Japan, I was actually in a coma in a facility in China, and they just implanted false memories into my head when I left. In Pennsylvania and other states, some grocery stores have simple robots named Marty that roam the aisles and look for spills or dropped items. Some people consider this a long-term indoctrination method to get people used to robots being present, presumably leading to all automated stores eventually. That our reflection isn't really a reflection, that we are seeing through a portal into another dimension where everything is hellish and terrible, so our twin, what we think is our reflection, keeps us out and won't let us pass. Or, are we on the hellish side? The true purpose of the US invasion of Iraq is not oil, not chemical weapons, not the imposition of democracy, and not a terrorist threat. The thing is that in Iraq there was a great artifact, the ancient Sumerian portal for communication with the reptilian race. Naturally, the CIA could not ignore such an easy way to communicate with their masters. In the course of hostilities, the portal was destroyed. Perhaps the forces of Hussein that saved our mortal world. Easily my favorite is the theory that Bikini Bottom was the site underwater where they had tested nuclear weapons, and now all the fish and such are different due to the radioactivity. Someone at a summer job once told me that the Austrian government faked the existence of the island Ibiza, and they were serious about it. Another one would be the Bielefelders fake thing. The movie Stargate was made to cover the fact that a real Stargate was found in the Middle East. That's why America invaded Iraq. Then when word would eventually get out, they could say that's just a movie, it's not real, and everyone would believe them. That there is a group of people that distribute the same font of homeless sign to people in major cities. Dumbest freaking crap I have ever heard. That all black cats are fake. Each and every black cat in the world is all one black cat named Tava, and it's all that one that the Egyptians worshipped way back when that was given immortality by the god Anubis. That Beyonce faked her pregnancy. Supposedly, Blue Ivy Carter was born by a surrogate, and Beyonce spent 9 months wearing progressively bigger prosthetic stomachs while out in public. Not exactly a conspiracy theory, but there's something about the Vatican getting a machine that can take pictures at a steady frame rate, so basically videos, and record sound from any moment in the past. They call it the chronovisor. Honestly, if by any chance this thing exists, or even is possible, it's probably one of the coolest inventions in existence. You've probably heard about Finland not existing, but have you heard of the Greater Finland Conspiracy? It's an old idea that Finland would combine with Estonia and other territories in Russia to become a greater version of Finland. It's not really a thing in Finland unless you take internet memes seriously, or what some people wanted 100 years ago. But if I recall correctly, some Russian websites called a boycott a Finnish energy company because of this idea that Finland would one day try to invade Russia. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.